Welcome to the Virulent Vortex, a podcast in which we discuss infectious disease across scales from pathogens and molecules to populations, pandemics, and everything in between. My name is Jaap de Rode. I'm a biology professor here at Emory University. And today with me is Steph Bellman. Steph is a graduate student in environmental health sciences at the Rowan School of Public Health here at Emory as well. Steph, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, Steph, you work on ticks. Now, most people don't like ticks. I think you have some sympathy for them. Can you talk a little bit about what you study about ticks and what you find interesting about them?
Yeah, for sure. So my research focuses on Heartland Virus, which is an emerging tick-borne virus. So I like to characterize my dissertation as the ticks, the virus, and the people as my three aims. And so for the first one, what I'm doing is I'm mapping essentially the distribution of the Lone Star tick, which is the vector for Heartland virus, here in Georgia. The second aim, I'm taking ticks that I collect in the field and then testing them for Heartland virus. And then in my third aim, we're doing a seroprevalence study in people here in Georgia looking for previous infection with Heartland virus to characterize what the potential prevalence is in people.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of people may be aware of viruses or other pathogens that are transmitted by ticks. So Lyme disease comes to mind. It's something that a lot of people know. Heartland doesn't sound that familiar. What is this?
Yeah, so it's an emerging virus. So it is new. It was discovered in 2009 in northwestern Missouri in 2 farmers. And since then, around 60 cases have been reported in the U.S. across kind of the Midwest and Southeast. It is kind of like, it has a similar presentation to a lot of other tick-borne pathogens. So you get a fever, fatigue, you can get GI issues, and then that can progress into low white blood cell and platelet counts, and then it can also progress into liver problems and other organ failure, and then sometimes it can be fatal.
Oh, wow.
The cases that we've seen have all been in older adults with comorbidities.
Okay. Yeah. So people that already have some issues with their health would be more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so, but it must be hard to diagnose it because the symptoms you mentioned are very generic. Fever, fatigue. I mean, a lot of viruses and other bacteria or other pathogens such as bacteria cause this.
No, exactly. And so I think a lot of cases are honestly being missed.
And so if you are bitten by a tick, you go hiking in a beautiful forest. I mean, we have a lot of beautiful places in Georgia. We'll talk about it in a second. But so say you have been hiking, you found a tick bite. We know for Lyme, you can inspect that tick bite. And if it becomes a bullseye, then, there is, it may be Lyme, you go to the doctor. Is there anything like that for Heartland?
Like no. It's good to know if you have had a tick bite just to be on the lookout for any other symptoms. But there's no prophylactic care, anything that you can do. And there's no treatment that we currently have for Heartland either. It's kind of just supportive care.
Right.
So really the way to prevent Heartland virus is to prevent yourself from getting tick bites. So wearing good tick protection when you're out in those environments. So long socks and pants, doing tick checks when you get back, to your car, to your house, checking your animals if they were out with you for ticks to make sure that's not being transmitted within your house, wearing bug spray, and just generally being cognizant of the areas that you're going into. Yeah. And so what we found with the Lone Star tick was that it was most common in this kind of central band of Georgia, eastern Georgia, and southern Georgia. And so we weren't really finding it up kind of in the Blue Ridge region and the Ridge and Valley region, which are our northern ecoregions here in Georgia. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that there weren't other tick species we found.
So finding the tick is one thing, but then does the tick have the virus? Did you find the virus in Georgia?
So this past summer, we went back to locations that had the most ticks from the summer before, when we were looking for ticks just across the state, to potentially find Heartland in other areas outside of these 2 central locations. And jury's still out on if we have found it. I'm currently working through the samples right now.
You collect ticks, you go there. How do you collect ticks? Do you drag a sheet through the undergrowth, or how does that work? Yeah. So what we do is we do flagging. So essentially, it's like a white flannel material attached to a wooden dowel, and so we walk through forested areas. So
when our flag goes by them, they'll hook on to the sheet thinking it is an animal or something they can feed on. Actually, this summer, there was one site, one of the two like established sites that we found Heartland at, where we got 1,148 ticks in 1 hour.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
And they were on their shoe, but you also have mentioned tick bombs.
And so, yeah, we'll find them in the field in large clusterings, not all the time, but we'll find these tick bombs where it's just hundreds upon hundreds to thousands of nymphs in one area. And so we'll get a lot of ticks in that moment.
So you find those on your flag, or do you find them on your legs?
Oh, both, yeah. Oh. So we
that doesn't sound fun.
No, we usually find them like on our flag. So we'll be going, and like I said, we'll look down to see if we have any ticks on it. And so usually if you see more than like, I don't know, 10 to 20, you start to get a little bit worried. Typically when you're going, you'll see like 2 or 3 as you keep going. That's an initial sign when you get that many that maybe you're nearing a tick bomb or you're in a tick bomb and you haven't realized it yet, which happened to me my very first time in the field when I didn't even know what a tick bomb was. And then, they get on your boots and you have to ask for help, have friends come and pull the ticks off of you.
Right, yeah. So you collect these ticks, you take them to lab, and then you check whether the virus is in there. So you mentioned the virus, the ticks, the people. So you said the jury is still out whether there is this virus other than in those 2 places where it was first found. So that's kind of comforting to know that it's not like everywhere.
And so right now we're entering a second phase where we're doing more selective sampling, looking at people that are being tested for other tick-borne diseases, thinking that if you are potentially at risk of one tick-borne disease, you may have been exposed to ticks in the past and therefore could have had Heartland in the past.
So it sounds like you're really studying something that is at the moment not a massive problem in Georgia, but that could become a problem, and you're right there to let us know if that's the case.
Yeah, no, that's the great thing. You need to understand diseases that we, are new, so that if it ever becomes a bigger problem, we have some baseline to go off of. We have some general knowledge. And something I think super spooky is that the Asian longhorn tick is an invasive species of tick that was introduced to the U.S. about a decade ago now. And was just discovered in Georgia, first on a farm a year ago. And then we actually, in our sampling, looking for Lone Star ticks and just our general active surveillance, found the Asian longhorn tick here on a wildlife management area, which means it is out in the wild instead of just isolated on these farms. And so the reason I say it's spooky is because the Asian longhorn tick actually vectors the most closely related virus to Heartland virus over in Asia. Daby Banda virus. It causes severe fever and thrombocytopenia syndrome. And it has a much higher burden of disease and a lot more cases over in Georgia, and is generally seen as a more like severe infection. And so the fact that we have this new invasive vector that could potentially vector Heartland, it could change the dynamics here, and it could become more of a problem than what it currently is.
Yeah, so we have an invasive virus, and then we got a new tick, and so this really could become a problem, and you're there to see if it will become a problem or not. So, on a daily basis, in your research, what makes you tick?
What makes me tick? I just think it's a really interesting problem to study. Yeah, ticks are interesting. Ticks are scary. I think they're fun to study. And that's what makes me tick.
Fantastic. Well, Steph, it was really wonderful having you here on the show and to learn about your exciting research about ticks. I've learned a lot, and not excited to get a tick bomb, but this was great. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for watching.